It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to it. You are tuned into your Feel Good Breakfast Show Expresso right here on S3 on this wonderful Thursday morning. And I love this next segment coming up. Now, the cry of every boy's heart is to know who they are and where they come from. And that is a quote from the mentors at the Character Company, a company that's comprising of men who strive to help raise boys to be good men with strong values, positively impacting families and communities and society. Now, this morning, Jaco van Skalkwyk, a dad and founder of the Character Company, joins us to tell us more about the work that they do. And we are also continuing to look at organizations affiliated with the Fathers Matter initiative by the NGO Heartlines, which will be rebroadcasting their last two short films on why Fathers Matter on SABC2 on Saturday, the 24th of June at 8:30. Make sure you tune in. It is impactful indeed. Jaco, thank you very much and welcome to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Good to have you.
It's great being here.
I'm glad we're talking about this topic. You and I had a quick discussion off air about, the importance of a fatherly figure, specifically for boys. We're focusing on boys this morning. I want to ask you, you engage obviously with these boys and you've seen a lot, and you also said that you live in those, statistics and you see a lot happening on the ground. What does having an absent father do to a boy?
So I think the devastating part of that is, especially for young boys, you don't understand the impact when he's at that critical age. So typically between the ages of 5 and 10 is when a dad's impact would be the highest. And a dad holds the key to, to establish a value system, an identity, which is crucial, and showing us the heart of God. I think for me that was the biggest thing that I struggled with, not having a father around. And the problem with that is that starts laying a foundation of low self-esteem, struggling to find your identity and looking for it in all other spaces. And it just flows from there into a life where, you can imagine, look into relationships, for example. You didn't see the practical outworking of a mom and a dad, living and making life together and, having an argument and, dealing with conflict and just that, that's just simple stuff that you grow up and you don't understand. And that flows out into your personal life, in your workspace, and in society. And there's a big frustration in our young people because there are no one around to show us, and especially also the answer to the question that we carry is, do I have what it takes?
Yeah.
And for a young boy, it's like, can I do this? Am I strong enough for this? And if there's no one bringing that to us, then there's frustration, and then there's no one teaching us how to deal with that emotion. And that often plays out in anger and all the other stuff that we're seeing in our country at the moment.
And see, that is the thing, because it really comes down to a point of action speaks louder than words.
Yes.
It's not something that I think, teaching is one thing and, having conversations and those kind of things, but the actions of a mother and a father in a family setup speaks volumes in terms of how you, like you rightly said, deal with those conflicts and stuff. So how do you go about working with these young boys in terms of the values that you teach them? What is your starting point?
So I think what you said is very important, is how do we behave around young people? What is it we're doing? And I think, for us, for me, it just started in a space where thinking that if we can, if I can have one boy not walking the road that I've walked, which has been hard, by the grace of God, I didn't end up in prison or in a graveyard. And a lot of our statistics for young people is that's where it ends. And for me, it was about, how do we establish a value system which is a roadmap on how I'm going to navigate this world and the kind of man I want to be, and take out of my own story and say, well, what is it that I would like to get out of my experiences? And I get the opportunity to heal something out of my own brokenness. And that for me is an opportunity that's really, really wonderful, because I can see the change. Yeah. And it is by modeling it. Because, we've got a strong curriculum and we've got the value system. But at the end of the day, one of the things that is remarkable is like boys that are camp with us and looking at the mentors, that they see the way that men behave with one another, being accountable, vulnerable, making commitments, sacrifices for that space. And regardless of what we try and teach, one of the things that they see is they see the behavior and they go like, these guys speak about this and that's what it looks like and I want that.
Yeah, they say one thing and they do the same.
Yes, and that's very, very powerful. Yeah. And that's because that's what happens in our country. We love to, put a magnifying glass over the behavior of, young people around us, but we should take a mirror. Yeah. And we should look at that and going like, they're modeling what they're seeing in our country. They're modeling gender-based violence, corruption, racism, suicides,
Look, there's so much to navigate,
Yeah.
I think, for a young child in today's day and age. And I mean, the pressure is really on for a mom and a dad, you know, to really be that positive example. You've said you see the statistics. What change do you see in the boys with regards to your work and starting point?
Yeah, how long time do you have? Yeah, I think every story is a success story. So I'm just, just some of the stuff that I take out of just my own life growing up is the stuff about, you typically start out, like I said, there's like, can I do this? And there's no one to guide me, and there's no one to show me. And so, typically boys perform badly academically, and there's low self-esteem, and so they shy away, they shrink back, or they puff up, and that's where bullying comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we see with the young boys starting our program is like an eagerness to learn the values. Like there's this competition between the 5-year-olds, to who's going to get the values right, and and then that living out that space at the camp, for example, or in the mentorship space, just someone that's there for me, And so often we see better performance at school, starting to be class captains, performing better in sport, and becoming, I get messages like, "Oh, Uncle Jaco, I've just been chosen as the captain of the soccer team," and that's amazing. Wow. And it's like those stories shows me, because I know what that journey looks like if there's no one there. And I think that's how it plays out. But it's a long journey. I mean, we've been in this for 10 years now.
Yeah, it's not something that you can put into a course format.
And that's why it's not popular and difficult to get people to get involved at that level of commitment, because you cannot do a 6-month course on how to deal with your absent father. It's impossible. This is a lifelong journey that you're going to walk.
Absolutely, and like you rightly said, I mean, you are literally working on that foundation phase that is going to pay off only later on in life, which I think is so important. Jaco, I wish we had the entire morning to chat about this. Thank you very much for your incredible work. Thank you very much for looking after these young boys that's growing up without that fatherly figure and being that example for young boys out there. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It really comes down to fatherhood being a gift and a responsibility, and building that solid foundation for a young boy. Men, it is really time to step up as a father and as a man as well, and fostering that good, proper, clean values. Now remember the Heartlines, it is rebroadcasting their last 2 short films on fatherhood, and that is what happens, and you can see what happens when they are absent on SABC2. It really is impactful. It's broadcasting this weekend on Saturday, the 24th of June at 8:30. Relatable stories that you do not want to miss.